Hi, JJ here at Mixed Media Woodworks. Sorry about the noise in the background. We're going to turn that off in just a minute. That's my vent fan trying to get as much air circulation and dust removal out of the air because we're going to be doing acrylic. And I don't want any of that in my finish. So we're going to start off with this 9.5 by 11 1/4 inch thick piece of hardboard. I consider it junk wood, but it makes the perfect substrate for a clock face. And that's what this is going to be, is a clock. I had a couple of people mention that they really like the finish that I put on my Galaxy P-Bass for the Great Guitar Build-Off. And one even made a comment that they wish they could do it. Well, keep watching because I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, because we're going to make a Galaxy clock right here on Mixed Media Woodworks. And yes, we have help. Come on, little Keishas cannot be on the workbench. No, you can't. Say hello to everybody. Yeah, I'm kind of a sucker for animals. Anyway, while I try to figure out how to keep her out of here, first thing we gotta do is take and we're gonna paint our substrate so that it's a nice black color, kind of like this. Okay, now that it's black, we want to think about what colors we're going to put down on this. As you can see, we've got a lot of choices. And sky's the limit, no pun intended, it is a galaxy. Dyes, mica powders, more dyes, our epoxy. I'm beginning to like this stuff. It's pretty cost effective. Go online and check it out from Pro Marine. This is not an ad. They're not paying me to do this. Okay. Galaxy clock, Galaxy base, Galaxy pour. You'll see a lot of this with acrylic paints, not acrylic epoxy, but with paint. And there's some great stuff out there. But I like the epoxy because it allows me to do layers. And what we're going to think about here is the first layer, we want this to be the most opaque. Strictly because this is what the base is. If I put 3 coats on this, each of the coats will be more and more translucent as we put them in so that we can get the illusion of depth. So that's what we're going to look for here. That's what I look for in any of these, regardless of what kind of design or thought I'm putting into mixing the colors. The rest of it is just how you pour the colors. And just, again, there's a million ways to do it. If you go anywhere on YouTube and look at cup pours and strainer pours and flip cup pours, all of them give you different results. They use pieces of string, and I like to use just a wooden tongue depressor. But at any rate, let's think about what colors we want to put in here. We got to have the black. Now this is a mica powder. This mica powder actually produces some, I won't say color because it is black onyx, but it has an iridescence to it, and it's really, really nice. So we're going to use that as an accent, definitely the black onyx. We'll lay these out where you can see them. I definitely like a blue, and sometimes more than one. Now here we got Ocean, Cobalt, and Caribbean. And Glacier. And that's more of a silver. That's, I've got a few other blues, but these are my favorites here. And actually for this, We're going to go for the glacier, I think, and maybe the cobalt. We might mix those. I definitely like the streaks of white in it, if I can. This titanium works wonderful. I like an elemental, and my current favorite, and you'll see why. This is called pink gold. And let's see if I can get this to where you can see that maybe. Probably not, but we'll see. This has just this wonderful color, and it is pink until you mix it, and then you get these gold streaks, and you'll see. I think we want a violet on this level, or possibly no, we're going to go for a red. Something a little deeper, so we'll go with this Shiraz. Not sure what a Shiraz is, but there's the color for it. And we'll save the violet for later. And I think I'm going to throw a splash of some green in it. Yes, I know it's a lot of color, but trust me. Just trust me. So there's our colors. We've just painted our board. We got to let this dry for at least a good 8 to 10 hours. We want all those gases to gas out and cure. Because if not, when we start putting the acrylic down, it can cause some bubbling here and there. And that's not a bad thing. It will level off at the top. But actually, sometimes it's just not a bad thing. If you notice, there's all sorts of irregularities here where I had sanded, and this is where the paint is reacting to whatever's on the substrate, and these colors are going to react the same way. Now we're going for random patterns, so if these cause extra random patterns in our random patterns, then hey, I'm all for it. Be random about it. It's all about experimentation. So we'll come back here in about well, who am I kidding? It's 9 o'clock at night. I'll be back here in about 12 hours. See you later. You can't be on the artwork. Oh, look, you've left a paw print. Yes. Okay. Off the bench. Hey guys, we're back. We're still trying to figure out how to keep this cat, hey you, who seems to be in play mode, off the bench. So we'll be back. Okay, so we got our substrate here, and we are going to attempt to pour. That is, as long as the cat, which is over there, decides to stay put. And of course, right now we're doing audio only on the camera because our second camera, which is our phone, is sitting right here. And we're using this as our monitor to see what we're doing. So we're going to set this off here just a little farther so that we're not in the direct line of fire. And we've got our substrate here. We've got a few blocks here to get it up off of our work surface. This is a little bit of a sheet from a roll. I get this from our local auto parts store, the big you know that jingle. If you go to your local auto parts store, most all of them have those big signs in the windows that are static cling, and this is the backing paper for them. If you go and ask them nicely, I'll bet that they will save this for you. This shiny side that the statics are attached to, acrylic doesn't stick to it, which is kind of nice. Paints don't stick to it. If you got something that's kind of wet and you got to set it down and it dries, you can peel it up off of it. It's kind of nice. It's a nice work surface. And the price is right. Free. So go check it out. It's not bad. Especially if you're working with acrylics, because you can, like I say, just peel it right off. So with that said, let's get this started here. We've got to mix up our epoxy. And again, we're using the Pro Marine tabletop epoxy. And this has got a work time of about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So we got plenty of time to pop bubbles, which is a good thing. So we won't need a lot, but we're going to need enough to mix some colors too. And this first layer, that's probably more than I'm going to need, but that's okay. Better to have a little extra. Equal parts of A and B. And I can kind of eyeball it, but at the same time these bottles come in equal amounts. So usually you can kind of just look at the side of the bottle and see how much you've poured. And I need to pour just a little bit more of B, which is the hardener. Okay, and we're going to go fast forward here because I'm pretty sure you don't want to listen to me ramble on while I mix this up. So we'll be back in a minute. We're going to try to let that sit for a minute. The nice thing about having such a long work time is that you can afford to let it sit for a minute or two. Like I mentioned before, this first coat is going to be the most opaque. So all our colors will be bold, and this again is our background. And since we want to be able to see through to the background, they have to be the most colorful. But at the same time, we don't want it to be too busy, so we're not going to put a whole lot in here. It's just going to be, I don't know what it's going to be. We'll find out when we get there. That's the beauty of this. It's never the same twice. Well, I try not to be exactly the same twice, unless I find something I really like, and I hope I remember how I did it. So again, there's always that. We're going to start with our first color, which is going to be an accent, and that's going to be our titanium white. And again, we won't need a whole lot of any of these, but we want to make sure we got enough to cover. There's a little titanium white. And I think I'm going to use the turquoise on this layer. And maybe on, this is probably going to be 3 layers deep by the time we're done. So we'll see. And yes, they make these things very difficult to open. Whew. That was almost a big splash of turquoise in the middle there without any acrylic. Okay, there's our turquoise. And our glacier. And these are going to be our three main bold colors. And like I said, I like some elementals in there, and I'm going to use that pink gold now. I really like this stuff, and you'll see why here in just a minute. There's another cup here. Beautiful pink color. And we're going to mix it first, because we don't need a lot of it, and I can just dabble some in, maybe about like that. There we go. Now that pink turns into this luscious pinkish with gold streaks. I don't know if you can see that happening there or not. That is gorgeous. Okay, there's our accent color. Let's get us some white. A little more. The funny thing about acrylic, this mass of acrylic in this cup right here will cure faster than a thin layer because of its mass and because of the chemical reaction, and it gets hot. I can already feel this beginning to heat ever so slightly. After about 20 minutes, it will have heated up progressively to about 100 degrees. And when it starts to thicken, just before it really starts to gel, it can get as high as 140, 150 degrees. So you got to really be careful of your choice of containers for molds, so on and so forth, because the thicker you pour, the better heat sensitivity, or I should say the better the material can handle heat is going to have to be in order to keep it into shape. I've had them warp out on me so badly, sometimes I've had to chunk them up and use them in other projects as just chunks and pieces. But and more on that, I'll show you something like that in another video. But okay, we've got our colors. Now we need a dark black, because this is what is going to define our space. And for this I use two different dyes because of their properties. This is very thick dye, and I want it to be as dark as I can get it. And this seems to have a good darkness to it. And Believe it or not, not all dyes are created the same and have the same tints, and this black, I think, helps to have both of them present in order to get as dark a background as I can get. So that's good and dark. One way to make sure it's dark enough is let's see how much light it doesn't go through it. Perfect. That's good and dark. And that's our flow coat. This is what's going to go on the bottom, and everything else is going to flow through it. Now there's a couple of ways that we can do this when we get to the colors. We can do it as a cup pour where we alternate the colors and then pour them in strands, kind of. Or we could just kind of toss it out willy-nilly and play with it and make it random again, you know. So maybe we'll do a little of both. See here, we got everything layered in a cup, and when we poured it out, it really didn't have much definition, so I believe that willy-nilly was the way to go, especially when all the magic really happens when you get out the heat gun to pop up the bubbles. Alright, so there we have our background. We're going to let that dry now for about 12 hours. That's the only thing about working with acrylic and this particular technique is it takes time. And several days, obviously, if I'm going to do that many layers. This is going to be at least a 3-layer piece. So we have several other colors to overlay. Like I said, that's a start. We'll see where it goes from here. Until then, this is JJ at Mixed Media Woodworks, and we'll see you for round 2.